Hello, this is a recording for the senses, Chapter 9 for HO 150. I am Alice Shapiro, your instructor. This again will be an overview, and you will, at your leisure, be able to go back and review this, and also to take a look at the non-narrated, where you can spend as much time as you'd like on each of the figures and pages presented here. All right, in general, a sense is the ability to perceive stimuli, and a sensation is the conscious awareness of those stimuli received by sensory neurons. And sensory receptors are nerve endings that respond to stimuli and develop action potentials, which are then transmitted towards the central nervous system. So sensory fibers are afferent fibers. Here's some general senses. They are over large areas of the body. Somatic provide information about the environment and the body. Visceral provide information about the interior internal organs, pain and pressure, touch, pressure, pain, and itch. Special senses, which are going to concentrate most on the eyes and ears, are responsible for sight, hearing, and balance. There are several types of receptors. I would like for you to know in general what these receptors do and what the definition is. Mechanoreceptors, again, mechanical things like movement, touch, pressure, vibration. Chemo obviously detect chemicals such as odors. Photoreceptors detect light. Thermoreceptors, temperature, and nociceptors, or I should say nociceptors, detect pain. And referred pain, we'll take a look at it in a moment, originates in a region that is not the source of the pain. It can be felt when internal organs are damaged or inflamed, and it occurs because the sensory neurons from the superficial area and the neurons from the source of pain converge onto the same ascending or afferent tracts of the spinal cord. So you may feel pain which did not actually emanate from the place in which you are perceiving the pain. Here is a diagram. Take a look at this. I'm not going to ask you to memorize this, but it is extremely interesting, I think, and also some treatments such as acupressure, acupuncture, use some of these areas to detect what is going on with internal organs and provide some kind of treatment. All right, olfaction is a sense of smell, and we can detect about 10,000 different smells. Note where the receptors are located. Think about why a person with a sinus infection or common cold, etc., allergies, can have a diminished sense of smell. Vision, we will spend more time right now on the eyes. Here are some accessory structures of the eyes. Take note of what they are and what their functions are. Again, you can read. I'm not going to spend time reading this to you. Here is a photo of the left eye, illustrating where some of the accessory structures are located, and the iris, which is not an accessory structure, but the accessory structures being the eyebrow, eyelashes, lacrimal glands, and we'll take a look at those again in just a moment. Here are some of the parts. The conjunctiva, you can read about this, lacrimal apparatus, extrinsic eye muscles and what they do. Here are these structures diagrammatically. The lacrimal gland, which of course produces tears and is very important in moistening the eye and will be stimulated by emotional factors. Notice where the lacrimal gland empties, let's say, into the nose. So if you are crying for any reason or your eyes are tearing due to allergies and so forth, you may experience a runny nose, and that is why. Here are the extrinsic muscles of the eye, which allow you to move your eyes up, down, around, crossed. Take a look at these. I'm not going to ask you to memorize these, but it is important to note what their functions are. Here is a sagittal section of the eye showing its tunics or membranes. The sclera, which appears as the white of the eyes when it is visible, is the fibrous tunic, the outer covering, the superficial covering. The choroid or vascular tunic, where the vasculature that supplies the eye is located. The retina, which contains the visual receptors. And interior to that is vitreous humor, which provides some of the support for the eye, and the vitreous chamber, which is filled with this vitreous humor. Showing you the conjunctiva, anterior chamber, the lens of the eye, the pupil, which dilates and constricts to allow more or less light to enter. Take a look at these structures and learn their functions as well. All right, here's the basic anatomy of the eye. We just looked at the layers and chambers a bit. This tells you about the fibrous tunic and the sclera, which I said is the firm white outer part, the white of the eye. When the fibrous tunic covers the visual portions of the eye, such as the iris and the pupil, it becomes transparent. It's still part of the fibrous tunic, the outermost layer, but obviously it has to be transparent to allow light to enter, and it also helps to focus the light. The vascular tunic contains the blood supply, as I mentioned. The choroid does contain melanin to allow for absorbing to some degree more of the light, and it delivers, since it contains blood vessels, delivers oxygen and nutrients to the retina. Here are the functions of the ciliary body and the suspensory ligaments. Take a look at those again. The lens we just looked at, the flexible disc, and as it is flattened or bulged, let's say, it helps to focus light onto the retina. The iris is the colored portion of the eye. The pupil, as I mentioned, can dilate and constrict. Dilated, it allows when there is little light, it will dilate to allow more light to enter. When there is lots of light, the pupil will constrict to protect the eye structures. And here is how that can occur. There are circular smooth muscles and radial smooth muscles, which are important in the dilation and constriction of the iris. And this shows you a little bit more detail of the ciliary body that suspends the lens, and contraction or dilation of the ciliary muscle, and therefore the changes in the suspensory ligament, will either allow the lens to be more rounded or more flattened, which helps to converge or diverge in the focusing of the light. The nervous tunic contains the nerve fibers, the sensory receptors. The retina covers the posterior 5/6 of the eye and contains two layers. The pigmented retina, which helps light to not reflect back in the eye, and the sensory retina, which contains the rods and cones. This tells you a bit about the rods and cones. The rods are more sensitive to light. They are more numerous by far than the cones, and they function in dim light. The cones provide color vision and the highest visual acuity. The macula is a small spot near the center of the retina, which also contains the fovea centralis, and this is where our most fine vision occurs, our most discriminating vision, but it requires a great deal of light because it contains only cones, and it allows us to discriminate fine images. The optic disc is also referred to as contains the blind spot, and this is where the axons exit as the optic nerve. There are no photoreceptors here, no rods, no cones, therefore we cannot sense vision in this part, and therefore called the blind spot. All right, here's an ophthalmoscope with a view of the retina and showing you the location of the macula and fovea centralis, the area of highest visual acuity, and then also showing you what the optic disc, the blind spot, would look like through an ophthalmoscope. Here are the chambers of the eye. Take a read of this and see what the chambers are and what their functions are. Vitreous chamber. The functions of the eye. Light refraction. Take a look at the focal point where the light rays converge, and it occurs anterior to the retina. We focus images onto the retina. Accommodation, the lens becomes more rounded and the image can be focused on the retina, and this enables the eye to focus on images closer than 20 feet. And here are some of the changes that occur in near vision. The lens is more rounded. The ciliary muscles contract and allow the ciliary bodies to move towards the lens and allow the lens to be more thickened, or we could say less flattened. When these muscles are relaxed, then the suspensory ligaments have higher tension. They're tighter, like straightening out a tightrope when you're walking, and therefore the lens is flattened. This can accommodate for distant vision. The optic nerve is the nerve pathway for vision and exits through the blind spot. The optic chiasma is where the two optic nerves cross. Most of the vision from the right eye is, or most of the sensation perceived by the right eye is transmitted to the left side of the brain, but there is some that remains unilateral on the same side. Likewise for the left eye. Here's what this looks like in an actual inferior view of the human brain, showing you the optic nerve and the optic chiasma. What you can't probably see too clearly is that there are some fibers of the optic nerve which remain and don't cross, which remain on the same side. Most of them do cross. Eye defects: myopia, hyperopia, presbyopia. And this diagrams those conditions for you and shows you what kinds of lenses will correct for each condition. Astigmatism is an irregular curvature of the lens, and so glasses or contacts that improve the curvature, correct the curvature, are required for that. Vision then will appear almost like double images at times, or at night seeing halos above lights and so forth. Color blindness is the absence of or deficiency in some of the cones. It is primarily in males because it is a sex-linked trait. Glaucoma is decreased pressure in the eye and can lead to blindness. All right, here is a typical sort of screening for color blindness. You should be able to see, if you are not red-green colorblind, you should be able to see the number 74 here. And in the lower diagram, you should be able to see the number 42. If you have any problems visualizing those, probably it's a good idea to contact an ophthalmologist. All right, we will leave here with discussion of vision, and I will pick up with another YouTube or another narration in just a bit with the ear and hearing and balance. Any questions, please post to me via Moodle. I will be happy to answer them, and I hope this brief overview of senses emphasizing the eye and vision has helped you. Have happy studying.